I'm Donna.
And I'm Bruce. And this is Lyrical Wisdom.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Lyrical Wisdom, where we dive into song lyrics and offer heart-based wisdom through our interpretations. If you enjoy what you're hearing, don't forget you can catch every episode of Lyrical Wisdom on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and more.
You can also find us on YouTube. Just search Lyrical Wisdom Show. Do you have a song you'd like to hear us shed some light on? You can email us requests, questions, comments to lyricalwisdomshow@gmail.com. That's lyricalwisdomshow@gmail.com. Or leave a comment on a YouTube video. We'd really love to hear from you. And all requests get an episode and a shout out.
So join us every Tuesday and Friday as we dig deep and deliver our wisdom. And thank you for sharing, liking, and subscribing to Lyrical Wisdom. Good morning, Bruce.
Good morning, Donna.
You know what? It is such a wonderful day today. You know why?
Because it's another day in paradise.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Because I'm with you. And I know that you're going to tell me what a wonderful day it is.
It is beautiful out there. And it is just another day in paradise. And I am so happy to be here. And especially after some of the storms we've been getting lately.
Oh my gosh, we had one last night.
Yes.
It was really... Although I think I slept right through it. It's the only sleep I got. Isn't that crazy?
No, that's not crazy. It's just amazing that the thunder shook the house.
Wow.
It was so strong. And
Wow.
I was really impressed by that. I
Yeah.
thought, wow, this is the universe in its full...
Waking us up.
Yeah, full strength.
Yeah.
Just exercising and flexing those muscles.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And cleansing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty of all of this. I know that we are being so cleansed by all this water.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
And it is a good thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, everything is growing. I even left a patch in a yard so that the bees can come in.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, I know. I
love that. I
those
love
honeybees.
that. Yeah, I took a drive yesterday and it was beautiful just looking out the window, seeing how green everything was. I don't know about you all. Welcome, everyone. But the colors on this magnificent earth are really beginning to glow now.
They're vibrant.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I love about this time of year is that new growth has this glowing essence to it.
I agree.
It's so full of light.
That's exactly what I was thinking. It is just,
Yeah.
that light is just
Yeah.
really hitting our eyes.
Yeah.
Like a punch in the face in
Yeah.
a really beautiful way. I
And
know
it
that.
lifts the spirit.
It really does. And it's
Yeah.
it is so necessary, I feel like, to go out and see it and to be with it.
Yes, and to take a moment to appreciate it.
Yes.
Yes, just to say thank you, Mother Earth. Thank you for the beauty that you gift me with to, gaze upon with these eyes, because that's why we're here.
That is why we're here. It is
to really experience through our
Yes.
senses.
Yeah.
So we have a really interesting song for you today. I'm not sure I'm familiar with this one. I know this artist. Everybody's familiar with this artist, I think.
I think you're right, but I agree. This is a song by this artist that I am not familiar with, and that's not a surprise because we have quite a few of those, but this is one that we really like, and it is interesting. And
yeah, and I can't wait to dive into this and, really look at these lyrics, and I'm excited to do some requests from you all too.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for being here. Are you ready for today? for The Man Who Sold the World by David Bowie. We passed upon the stair. We spoke of was and when. Although I wasn't there, he said I was his friend, which came as some surprise. I spoke into his eyes. I thought you died alone a long, long time ago. Oh no, not me. I never lost control. You're face to face with the man who sold the world. I laughed and shook his hand and made my way back home. I searched for form and land. For years and years I roamed. I gazed a gazeless stare at all the millions here. We must have died alone a long, long time ago. Who knows? Not me. We never lost control. You're face to face with the man who sold the world.
Wow.
Where do we begin?
Yeah, that's one that I feel like it almost needs a moment to sink in.
Yes, yes. I love the way that it begins with an ascension,
Yeah.
a climb.
Yeah.
Where are they going? You
yeah.
know, we passed upon the stair.
Yeah.
So is it the stairway to heaven? Is it, what step, it's a staircase.
It is.
That they're standing upon or passing each other upon.
Yeah, that is a very interesting observation. I agree. We passed upon the stair. You really don't know, in a way, which way either person or either being is going.
Oh, that's true. Who's going up and who's coming down.
And where it's going, it doesn't even really. But that's one thing that I feel like maybe the next line kind of gives us maybe a little hint, but it says, we spoke of was and when.
Oh, and you know what? It's interesting because I'm also hearing, how come they both can't be going the same direction?
Of course.
One's just going faster than the other.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. I think that's another way of, of course, maybe one person is a little bit more in a hurry and the other person's maybe taking their time.
Right.
And I think that's a beautiful thing, because I agree. It is an ascension. I believe that what this is leading to in that way is, without saying it, they are going up.
Ah.
I do think that, because I think that to have the conversation that I think that these two beings are having, it just has to be an ascension, just like you said. I don't think that's something that we can ignore.
Well, also because of the next line, because of we spoke of was and when.
Yeah.
So in other words, there is a past here.
Yeah.
So it's behind him, which is obviously, to me, the back of the steps you've already climbed.
Yes. I think that's that's
where you
exactly
came from or whatever.
Yeah.
So yes, I agree.
Yeah.
For me, this is an ascension. We spoke of was and when.
Yeah.
So when, to me, could be the now as well as the future.
That could be. Yeah. And think about that for a second, because I think that we both would say the same thing about time being a construct and everything is happening right now.
Correct.
And so, when he says we spoke of was and when, I agree, it could be the past and the future happening right there in the present while they're having that conversation.
Right.
And I love the fact that then after that it says, although I wasn't there.
Right.
Because that is another thing that it kind of makes a little bit of a connection to the idea that we passed upon the stair, we spoke of was and when, although I wasn't there. Well, where is there?
Correct.
And-
or is he really on the stair?
And yeah, and is it
Or is it the past, the was and the when that they're speaking of, and knowing of it, but not remembering it? In other words, I wasn't there in that was and when.
yeah,
you know?
in that past life, in that kind of past existence of sorts, yeah. And then he
But
said,
yet he
yeah,
speaks about it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's where I am so like enthralled, or the mystery of this song is very engaging.
It really is.
Because they're speaking of it, and therefore in order to speak with someone, there has to be communication back and forth.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So there has to be some sort of knowing
Yeah.
of being able, in other words, to talk about the was and when.
Yeah.
And then realizing as you're talking about the was and when that, wait a minute, I wasn't there.
Yeah. And that is, I think that's exactly how I'm looking at this too. This is really fascinating because speaking of was and when, realizing that one of them wasn't there, he said I was his friend. And so there's these little things. It almost reminds me of how some people have described having certain experiences where they are maybe visited by aliens. And the information that they get from other beings is a little bit like how this song seems to be reading right now. And that is, it's scratching the surface a little bit, but it leaves you and your imagination or your own mind. You have to figure out how to fill in the gaps.
Right.
And I think we're filling in the gaps actually correctly. I think that they're talking about being in a past existence, past lives, past collective consciousness, and they are, they're suddenly realizing as they pass upon the stair that, they can have a conversation of things that have happened in their existence, and they feel like they weren't there, but then they're like, well, yeah, but you were my friend. Mm-hmm. And it's like these moments that some people talk about. I've heard of people describing these in near-death experiences where they'll remember speaking to another being that seems to be like another soul in this experience, who they're talking to them like they are like the closest and greatest of friends for the longest time. And they're thinking to themselves, wait a minute, as they're having this experience, they're like, what is going on here?
Right.
And it, I feel like that's a little bit of what he's kind of letting us enjoy, but we have to kind of put it together,
Right. Because in order for us, the definition of a friend means to know that person.
Yeah.
In order to call them a friend, you have to know them.
Yeah.
You have to accept them. It's a stranger,
Yeah. Yeah.
Although for this, they're saying, I thought this was a stranger because I wasn't in the past or anything. He said I was a friend. So for me, it is also definitely touching that aspect of the unity between us all.
Yes.
In other words, knowing that when you meet a stranger and you look at them in their eyes, in their soul, there is a recognition of, I know you. And it's because we all are connected in that realm of consciousness that I believe this song is written about.
I agree.
Or in,
I think you're right. I think we're hitting it head on. It's funny because that familiarity.
Yes.
Yeah, that
Yes.
familiarity, which, it'll come as a surprise. And that's what he says next, which, he said I was his friend, which came as some surprise.
Only some, not
Only
a
some,
big,
yeah, like
because there was an aspect in the back
they
of his
knew,
head that
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, yeah, I think you're
I think
right.
you're right. Yeah,
But this is surprising.
yeah, this is
It's surprising me that I'm accepting it.
yeah,
Too, I
yeah.
think is part of that surprise,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's it's remarkable because that's where I feel like we have that deeper connection where certain things feel familiar, and then as we experience them, sometimes they can be startling in this body, in this form that we're in this version of the consciousness that we're experiencing right now. But there is a familiarity to it, and once we kind of let go of fear, it can make it a lot easier to accept some of these other new kind of ideas.
Right.
And I love how he says, I spoke into his eyes. I thought you died alone a long, long time ago, which, once again, I think that's exactly what we're talking about here.
Right.
You know?
Right. He recognizes this soul because how else could he know that or think that he died alone?
Yes.
It
Yeah.
was, and that's what I guess I was talking about just a minute ago about when you speak to someone and you look into their eyes. So I love that they also acknowledge that it's a way to really not just talk at someone
Yes.
or talk to someone,
Yeah.
but talk with
That's
someone
and
by looking into their eyes
Yeah.
and really accepting, that aspect of them, which is more than just that physical body standing in front.
yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like it's like a recognition. I spoke into his eyes. I thought you died alone a long, long time ago. A recognition of seeing themselves in the other person's eyes.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Or even an aspect of God.
Yes.
Because for me, I feel like he's, the aspect of the Son, Jesus dying on the cross, kind of comes through this just a little bit. And that's what I am seeing
Yeah.
is, I thought you died alone a long, long time ago.
Yes. And then, oh no, not me. I never lost control.
Yes.
That is that is something that I think the conversation is remembering. They're suddenly remembering these things. And oh no, not me. I never lost control. Like, nope, I thought you died alone a long, long time ago. Oh no, not me. I never lost control.
Yeah, meaning his whole life, his, purpose, everything he was doing, even his death was in his control.
Yes.
In other words, he knew he was in control the whole time.
It was a part of the big plan.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
And then, of course,
You're face to face with the man who sold the world.
I love that because that is, it could be, he could be looking in the mirror. He could be talking to himself. He could be talking to God. He could be talking to just another being. I don't want to say just another random being, but I feel like that is just so powerful. And of course, the title of the song.
Yes. Well, I do believe that in religion, the Christians, I believe the big thought around Jesus dying on the cross, they say he paid for our sins.
He paid for everybody.
Yes.
He died for all of us.
He died for the world.
Yes, for every single one of us.
Yes.
No matter who it is, no matter what you've done,
Right.
it's all,
so therefore he sold the world with his death or whatever, it was, I don't know, it's part of what, that bringing into the understanding of we really, I don't know, it's like the man who sold the world. And the price that was paid
Yes. Yeah.
was the blood that was shed.
Yeah. Yes.
It was
That's
it was
incredible.
weird.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so he bought the world with his blood, but who sold the world? In other words, I think he's telling us, I've sold the world and bought the world at the same
Yes.
time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That I am that. And we all are that when you look deeper inside.
Yes.
Because
Absolutely.
then what happens? I laughed and shook his hand.
Yes. Yeah. That's,
So he's like, oh, okay, so you sold the world.
yeah.
I thought you bought the world,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
understanding that, in it all just is. And
Yes.
it's the same, nothing's good or bad. It just is.
It just is. Yeah.
When you look at the whole picture, it's really quite fascinating.
It's kind of like an and also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And made my way back home. That's another part of this. And made my way back home. I think that is something that it's almost like it's like a very, I would like to say, when you have that wonderful visit with somebody, maybe it's family or friends, and then you have to say goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like there's this really beautiful parting between the two, or whatever way we look at it, between them and themselves. And then they make their way back home.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me means that's got to be that static place. But then he goes on to say, I searched for form and land. For years and years I roamed. I gazed a gazeless stare at all the millions here. And I feel like that is something that is, it's timeless, it's ageless, and it has a grand length to it.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's almost as if he was ascending the stairway to heaven. In other words, he was, like you said, at NDE. Only for me, I'm wondering if, this is an aspect of being in that near death, that death experience, and making his way back home is actually going back to the Creator,
Yes,
going back
yeah.
to that place
Yeah.
of love where it all begins. And he searched for form and land and couldn't find it.
Yeah.
He searched
Yeah.
because he's in that place of just pure love and consciousness and light. For years and years I roamed. I gazed a gazeless stare.
Yeah.
So in other words, I really didn't have eyes.
Yeah.
I even though I felt as though I was gazing, I was gazeless.
Yeah. No, that's a
Formless,
yeah.
gazeless at all the millions here.
Yeah.
So he's also being able to see the world.
Yes. Yeah.
And see all the millions here, and yet not be part of it.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking, not being exactly a part of it, but being able to witness it and experience it in a way. And that is, that's remarkable, because it's a gazeless stare. I like how you put that. The form of the body has to be without eyes. Mm-hmm. The form of whatever it is that could gaze a gazeless stare, that has to be a form that has no eyes. And at all the millions here, meaning that they're all together, that you're able to gaze upon or see. And so that is just, that is quite a statement, I think, to being a little bit beyond what we consider this physical form.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's I searched for form and land. That part of it too, I think that would be something that I actually hope to look for when that time comes for me and I go home or I transition or whatever it is. And when I become that energy being, I'll probably search for form, because we just came from form. Yeah, we just came from this matter, this form, this what do we call it? The terra. We come from this hard form. And it's I think that's a kind of a thing that you could kind of take that and apply it to that, because this all seems very, very it's ageless. I searched for form and land for years and years. I roamed. And so at all the millions here, I mean, it seems like it could go on forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we must have died alone a long, long time ago. That's another part of it. It's timeless. There's no time.
Right.
No time.
And I love that he says we must have died alone, which is fascinating, because in the word we, meaning there's more than one. Yeah. So how can we die alone?
It's almost like in some ways somebody might say an oxymoron.
Right, right. And I think that's what he's trying to get us to look at, that we are not alone here.
No.
Even though we think we die alone, that, we're on our deathbed or whatever, and we're the only one, that's dying. We're not.
We're not, yeah.
We are so connected to everyone and everything that is here, that, a long, long time ago, we've been here, done this, that sort of thing. Like you said, very timeless.
No, I love that, because then who knows? Not me.
Right.
We never lost control. You are face to face with the man who sold the world.
So that is so fascinating, because, I mean, it's true. Who knows, Bruce?
I definitely don't know.
Anybody out there know? We'd love to get a response from you. Send us your comment and let us know. We never lost control. It's when we go back, it is my truth and my understanding that when we go back, we realize that we never did lose control.
I'm there,
we create our reality. We're here as spiritual, loving beings with emotion. And I heard the most beautiful thing this morning that I'm going to run with, because I love it. For me, it's a new definition of emotion. Energy in motion.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Don't you?
That is it.
I mean, what is the symbol for energy but the letter E?
I was just going to say the letter E, because that kept hitting me in the head.
And so I saw that the way it's written, E, motion.
Yeah.
It's like we are energy in motion. We're here to experience all of these emotions, and it's when we hold on to them and they get stuck in us. You know what happens when you try to stop energy from flowing?
Boy, howdy.
So who knows? Not me. We never lost control.
We never do. And that's so funny that you mentioned that, because that's exactly what I was thinking before. You must have been reading my mind. It just we are energy beings. And I like how you have said it, Donna, where we talk about we are light and sound. That's what we are.
Vibration.
And vibration.
Yes.
And so we are those three things. And we can obviously have a much broader connection with everything around us than most of us realize. And it is really super cool to embrace that.
Yes.
And I know you were saying, this is my truth. That's my truth too, as well, because that's another thing I've heard people talk about in interviews, that on the moment that you actually notice that you are transitioning and passing over, it doesn't feel difficult. It feels like you've done it before. And how could you feel like that?
The fascinating thing is when you are able to witness it.
Yes.
You do it in breath.
Yeah.
The same way you come in to this earth.
Oh, that's a beautiful.
You come in on a single breath, and you leave with a single breath.
That's beautiful.
So you inhale coming in and you exhale going out.
That's beautiful.
And you're face to face with the man who sold the world.
Beautiful.
Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We appreciate you, and we really would love your comments.
Absolutely.
Would love your requests, remember. Thank you for joining us today on Lyrical Wisdom.